Alright, first things first, I'm the realist and my lips are dry, so I'm gonna put on some of my fave Revlon Lip Butter before I throw in my contact lenses so we can get going. First, I must remove my glasses. So today I'm going to try and recreate a beautiful look from the Instagram of makeup artist James Molloy. I thought this would be an exciting look to try out with my newly arrived Kim Chi Chic Virgin Mojito eyeshadow palette. Now, there were many times that I almost purchased from Kim Chi Chic Cosmetics. I've always wanted to. But the shipping rate to Canada can be quite prohibitive, often exceeding the price of the items I want. But I finally threw caution to the wind and went ahead with an order and picked up the two items I'd lusted after for the longest, this light up LED mirror and this green and yellow Virgin Mojito eyeshadow palette. And that green eyeshadow, that's the one that sold me on it. First thing I'm going to do is to glue down my brows with some of this Got To Be hair gel and a spoolie. Yes, I know that my bangs look a little silly and that they are in the way and will continue to be in the way during this video, but this is the only way I can get my bangs to lay properly, you know. So you're going to just have to deal with it. Next, I'm going to prime my eyes. I'm going to use the MAC paint pot in the shade Soft Ochre. After I used a paint pot from MAC in my video about longwear makeup for masks and glasses, I found it really helpful and it made my eye makeup last through a long day at work. So after trying one paint pot, I picked this one up as a shade that I hoped would be close enough to my skin tone to act as an all-over base for pretty much any color of eyeshadow. It's a little bit deeper and more yellow than I had hoped, but when I apply it thinly enough, it helps to cover the veins and the kind of discoloration I have around my eyes, in addition to helping my makeup crease less and last longer. Okay, now for the fun part. So James Molloy for this look starts out with a green eyeliner pencil to lay down a base for the shape of the eye look and get the eye ready for eyeshadow. I did not have a pencil as bright and true and green as the one he used. And I have had a really hard time finding a pencil to match his. The closest I have in my collection is this Rimmel Scandaleyes eyeshadow stick in the shade Gossip Green. So again, this is more of a mossy, muted green, but it'll serve our purpose just fine for today. So I start with applying the pencil partway along my upper lash line and in the outer corner in a V shape. I'll then blend that pencil using a Real Techniques base shadow brush, working it through the crease towards the inner corner of my eye. Essentially, we'll be drawing a shape around the eye that slightly wings out at the corner, and to kind of guesstimate the position of this pencil, I keep checking that you can still see the green around my eyes when they are open and looking straight ahead. So the line shouldn't be so low down in your crease that it disappears when you open your eye. Hopefully that's helpful. Finally, the pencil will also go along the lower lash line, leaving just a small gap at the inner corner. I found that it was important to work slowly in small sections with the pencil to get the placement where you want it. Okay, now the big moment. As I said, this is the color that sold me on this palette. It is called Sour Pop. I'm going to use the same brush as I used to blend the pencil and begin to slowly press the eyeshadow along that pencil guide that we've already put down, slowly building it up and intensifying it. I'm mostly patting the eyeshadow to get the color as intense as I can without making the shape of the eyes much bigger. And once I've got enough of that green pigment down, I will go over the edges with a totally clean, fluffy brush to lightly blend out the edges. Sour Pop is a gorgeous, bright, true emerald green color. It's mostly matte, but not completely flat. I find that it does still have a bit of a satin sheen to it. So as I said, the shade Sour Pop was what really sold me on this cute little palette. It's a very hard shade to find. I've purchased multiple eyeshadows hoping for a true bright green color, only to often find them being too dark and more teal, or too light and minty, or more yellow and limey looking. Yellow limey looking. But this palette has a number of green shades that run that gamut, but still include as I mentioned, matte satin, as well as a glitter of this true green I was looking for. Even my fave green glitter shade from the Pat McGrath Mothership palette is the closest I've got, but is still darker than I would hope for. This palette also has some really lovely yellow shades in it, and you know, I have to give credit where credit is due. It was really only after picking up the Alyssa Edwards Anastasia palette that has that bright yellow in it that made me realize how much I love yellow eyeshadow. I used to think it would make me look quite sickly and that it was completely unwearable, but now I think it's lovely and flattering. So I will say I was a teeny bit disappointed when I opened up this palette to find that it doesn't have a mirror inside. I mean, luckily it does have a absolutely stunning photo of Kim Chi, but the quality of these shadows and the affordable price of the palette really makes up for the lack of mirror, so it's really not a big deal. And to be honest, when I was shopping for this, I was very close to picking up the Two Queens collab palette that Kim did with Naomi Smalls, as it looks like it has the type of green I want, along with a whole other bunch of shades, but it was sold out. Next, I'm going to take a much smaller brush. This little guy is from Eco Tools. I'm not sure the name of it, but any little tiny pencil brush will do. And I'm simply going to repeat the process, intensifying the center of that green eyeshadow shape, making it look deeper and more precise looking. Again, I'm not trying to blow out the shape beyond what is already there with the base, so that little small brush should go near the bottom or kind of center of the green shape that's already there, but really no higher. Okay, so the second shade I'm going to use from the Kim Chi palette is called Sour Apple, which is a really pale, more Midori yellowy green color. And this is where I move out of my comfort zone. My instinct is to just leave that true emerald green on its own. But James Molloy then uses a bit of a color like this, a more yellowy color, just slightly across the lower lash line. And I think it totally transforms and changes the look. I'm going to apply that with this Sigma small tapered blending brush so that it is precise but is not too intense. I want this to be just like a blown out hint of a more yellowy green. So the final step that James Molloy does is he uses what appears to be a clear glossy balm to add some shine on the lid. But instead I'm going to use this single shadow from Topshop. It's surely been discontinued by now, but I love it for its sheer kind of buildable, slimy, gasoline-y duochrome. And I thought it picks up on the sour apple yellowy shade on the lower lash line. So I'm going to use just a big brush to put that lightly all over the lid so you get a bit of shine, but you still get the kind of negative space between the bare lid and the green crease color. Once that's on there, I will curl my lashes, and that's it for the eyes right now. So for the skin, I'm going to start off with a good shake of this Le Blanc de Chanel, which is a multi-use illuminating base. Essentially, this is going to give me some luminosity and a little more hydration on my skin. I did my skincare before starting on the eyes, so by the time that's done, it's a little more dry. So to get the skin ready for foundation, I'll use a little bit of this base. It's a really lovely product that gives you some luminosity without any kind of glitter or shimmer. For foundation, I'm going to use one of my faves, the Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Foundation, and pump a little bit of that into my hand and apply with the Real Techniques buffing brush. This is still my favorite way to apply this foundation. You can see there I like to just get it all over with the brush, and then I will perfect it later on with a sponge. This foundation is sheer and luminous, but I think evens me out just well enough. I'll grab this EcoTools sponge, which I have dampened, just to go all over my base, mostly just to get rid of any streaks that the brush would have left in the foundation and to take any excess off. This is not my favorite blending sponge, but it's the only green one I got, and I wanted to stay on brand. I'm going to take a little bit of this Maybelline Fit Me Concealer under my eyes and on any kind of redness and spots that I've got going on. This concealer is going to appear too light, but I promise when it sets down, it's a pretty good match for me. It's shade 5 Ivory, and for a long time the lightest shade I could find in this Maybelline Fit Me Concealer was shade 15, which was quite a bit darker and a lot more pink. So this shade 5 works well for me. Again, I'll use the brush to kind of move the product around, get it where I want it, and then finish off with the sponge. Moving on to brows, I am saddened by how little of my Anastasia Brow Wiz I have left. It's really just down to a nub, but it shall suffice. Because I've already put that got to be glued? Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Hair gel through my brows. They are, or the actual brow hairs that I do have are standing well at attention, so that I can go through and draw in little fake hairs where I am lacking. I really love this product. As you can see, it's almost done, and I have since purchased the Anastasia Brow Pen, their new liquid felt tip, no, it's a brush tip brow product So I've only used it a few times. It's promising because it's a exact shade match to this caramel color that I love to use. But I'll have to keep using it to let you know what my verdict is. But in the meantime, when my hair is freshly colored, this is my favorite brow product to use. I'm going to do a little bit of contouring with my Fenty Matchstick in the shade Amber. And this is a new thing. This is maybe weird, but it's something I tried out on this day, which I'm kind of calling a reverse contour. Normally I would start putting the product near my ear, near the back of my cheekbone, and then dragging it forward. But I kind of like the look it gives to put a little bit of contour product right under the apple of my cheek and then lightly blending it backwards towards my ear. So what I'm really trying to do is just emphasize that roundness in the apple of my cheek. And I decided on the placement of the product by pursing my lips or doing that little fish face. So yeah, it's focusing on the front of the cheekbone rather than the back of the cheekbone. Might be really weird. Let me know if you notice the difference in the comments. For blush, I'm going to use, another Maybelline Fit Me product, which is a really lovely, slightly shimmery, rosy nude blush. And I'm going to start firstly by patting it onto my cheeks and then slowly beginning to swipe and drag the brush. I do that because I did not set my foundation with any powder, so it helps to start by pressing or patting the product first before swiping it around so as not to disturb the foundation underneath. I think this is a really lovely muted color. Adds just a little bit of something to the cheeks, but I didn't want to go too bright because the eyeshadow is pretty bright. For highlighter, I'm going to use this Anastasia Amrezi. I'm so sorry. I need to look up how you say her name. I do that every time I use this product. It's a gorgeous highlighter though, one of my faves. It's like a true champagne-y color, and I think is one of the best wet-looking powder highlighters I've ever used. So I'm putting that on the top of my cheekbones, kind of creating a C shape around my brow bone. It's lovely. And as kind of a final step on the eyes, I'll also take that same highlighting powder in my inner corner. I didn't want to go too yellow or too white with the inner corner highlight, but I think this marries well with the yellow and the green that's already down there. Okay, so mascara, and then the eyes are done. I'm using the Maybelline Falsies mascara, which I picked up from my Trixie Mattel makeup tutorial. Please check that out if you haven't already. I did not think much of this mascara at first, but now that it's like worn in a bit, I think it's excellent. And it lasts long, and it does not transfer, which I'm always looking for in a non-waterproof mascara. So I love Kim Chi. Season 8 was the first season of Drag Race I ever watched, and I think that's just because it was the first season ever added to Netflix here in Canada, and Kim Chi very quickly became my favorite queen of the season. And I have to say, over the years, it's because of Trixie Mattel and her YouTube videos, her podcast, that I've gotten to know a little bit more about Miss Kimberly Chi, and I just love her. My favorite thing is when she says, "Yup." Whenever she, answers in the positive to a question. She never says yes or yeah or uh-huh. She says yup, and it's the best. Okay, and I'm just going to throw on a little bit more of that Revlon Lip Butter that I started with at the beginning, because I think it looks really lovely. It kind of matches the blush on my cheeks, and is one of my just favorite comfortable nude lipsticks. Goes with everything. Comfortable to wear. You can apply it. You know, I don't even need a mirror to apply it. It's just the best. Revlon should bring it back. And the final touch on my skin, I'm just lightly setting my under eyes and around my T-zone with some RCMA No Color Powder. And there you go. I think it's a very festive look. My favorite green color. I just think it's gorgeous. And my apologies, I forgot to film myself with my hair down. So allow me to present these high-resolution photos of me clowning around. Thank you so much for watching. Check out kimchichiccosmetics.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It would help me out a lot. Bye-bye.